Hey everybody, this is a fountain and I stopped because I liked it. I'm kidding. That's why I stopped. I stopped because I wanted to show you guys my hot rod. This is like my baby. Built this like 15 years ago and everything on it is special. It's like my child, and I've always told people if you ever see anybody else driving this, I'm dead. Let's give you a quick run around here. This is my 1931 Ford Model A Roadster. It's all steel. And looking at the body, you can tell that there's a bit of a tilt as it goes front to back. That's because it's a California tilt. The back of the frame sits on the frame rail, and it slowly but surely goes downward all the way toward the front, where it rests at the bottom of the frame rail. It's a Brookville Roadster chassis. The wheels are from a 49 Ford. And they used to have little clips on there that held the center cap on, but those were taken off and welded back in and then hand painted just with a spray can. And then got some of the Firestone gum dipped, bigger on the back than on the front. Don't recall the exact size because they've been on there for forever. 39 Ford taillights, and got some special striping on here by my best buddy, Steve Fields, in Dayton, Ohio. He did this when he was in his like mid-20s. Check that out. Just beautiful. My favorite part of the car, actually. As we come around here, there were several reasons why I did some of the things I did on this car. I have a lot of relatives who were and are still veterans of World War II, and this is kind of right out of their era. They asked me at a family reunion a few years ago, they said, is it going to have a rumble seat? Well, kinda. It's got a rumble seat lid, which I chose over just like a regular trunk lid. Down inside there, you'll see the battery mounts in the back. There's a kind of what I call an abbreviated roll bar. All that really does is kind of stiffen up the rear end and kind of frame up the fuel tank. It makes it so the fuel tank is protected within it. Reisingers in Evansville, Indiana, fantastic people. Hello, Pat, and everybody else there. They did that. Now you'll notice I've done a lot of drag racing in the past, so there's a Holly Blue pump in there. There's a spin-on filter from Mallory. This thing right here is nothing more than a toolbox. It has just the basics that I've learned this car needs generally if something goes wrong. You'll also notice down in there coilovers. That's a 9-inch Ford rear end with 31 spline axles and a Posi. As we come around the side here, the doors do not open on this car. They never did and they never will. Steel cowl. Several Brookville Roadster components on this car front to back. 31 headlights. They have H4 halogen conversion updates on there. Once again, my buddy Steve hooked me up on the top of this cut down 32 grill shell. The front end is a 4-inch dropped I-beam Super Bell axle, and it has 78 to 83. Basically the same brakes that it would have, you know, on like a Malibu, 78 to 83. You can tell I've driven the crap out of this. I've broken those mounts so many times. As we come around, you'll see that those are all handmade too, the mounts for the engine itself. These are 39 Ford split bones. They've been taken out to each side, and as you can see, the mount was made to have a little attitude. Looks like a little claw or a knife blade. Contrary to what it looks like, it looks as if this has no mufflers whatsoever, but it actually does. They're tucked up inside there. Also, you'll notice that the center pipes are merged into one pipe instead of two, kind of paying homage to the flathead engines. Those two cylinders on like an 8BA Ford used to have the twins in the middle there, just on the same pipe coming out. You'll notice if you look closely, ARP bolts on the heads, aluminum aftermarket cylinder heads, an old Offie 3-deuce intake. And it's one of the earlier ones too, because it has that filler in the front. I always liked how that looked. But it's a progressive setup. The one in the middle runs. The front and the back one don't have idle circuits, so you're running on the front one well, excuse me, you're running on the middle one. The two pedals there are actually like round track Willwood pieces. They go up to master cylinders that are hidden up under the dash. And speaking of hidden, you'll see there are no switches out here. The ignition, the light dimmer, all that kind of stuff is under the dash on purpose. I just didn't want it to be out here messing up the vibes. Also, this is actually a pretty special thing. I had a friend back when I was living in Dayton, Ohio, came to all the car shows, and he got cancer and passed away. And everybody who came to his funeral got one of these plaques, like a dash plaque, like in a car show. And being just like Larry, on the bottom he said, "See, I told you I was sick." Those of you who knew him understand that, yeah, that's not a dark story. That's actually fun. That's so Larry. Going back to the engine itself, this is a 355, a 30 over 350 small block Chevy. And the heads, remember Canfield? Canfield went out of business a few years ago, and Jegs in Ohio sold off their remaining inventory. That's where I got those. Like I said, the block's 30 over and makes it a 355 cubic inch. The internals, Eagle crank and rod, Speed Pro pistons, just a very conservative compression ratio, nothing crazy. I didn't want it to be something that was constantly needing race gas or anything. But way down below there, there's a polished aluminum pan, but like I said, I drive it way too much for it to ever be shiny. Old chrome water pump, the pulley, an updated distributor that has electronic ignition inside there. There's an MSD coil inside the car hidden under the dash. Okay, let's climb up under the back end here. 9-inch Ford, like I told you a minute ago. It's 31 spline, but it's got a couple other things that are cool. You see the coilovers right there. It's drum brake, but everything was rebuilt when I put it all together. You can see there is some rust in there because, like I said, it's not a garage queen. I've driven the crap out of this car. It's probably had, I don't know, 70 or 80,000 miles put on it since it was built. But it's been an absolute blast so far. Got some other little modifications that I'm pretty proud of on the car. Front of the split bone comes to a point, and it even has a little contour on the top of it that does another point. Come around to this side, same way. A lot of time, effort, and thought went into this, and it's actually been a really good car because of it. You may have noticed also that I was kind of undecided about how I felt about the aluminum radiator in here, and also that fan, because they do look updated, but at the same time they make the car a better driver. Kind of like those disc brakes I showed you a minute ago. They may look a little out of place on the rest of the car, but I've had a couple times when I've had to panic stop and those came in handy. I kept the windshield aiming straight up and down on purpose. It seemed it was just too streamlined if it was angled back, so I wanted it to be very straight up. I wanted it to look real early and primitive. So that's why that's that way. Well, there you go. That's the hot rod, man. We'll take it for a spin. I can't really hold this phone a whole lot as I'm driving, but I'll see what we can do.